welcome to another episode of Getting Random with Z Singleton. So, of course, you guys see me holding the mic like like I'm running a contest here, but again, not always perfect, and we forget to do things like buy new mics when the other mic breaks. So today I will be a host for sure. Hey, okay.
Hey.
So with me, I have today Holistic Healers Community, Cristo Venegas and Ibrahim Dala.
Yes.
Thank you. I want to say, I don't know, it's like that thing about you want to put the D by itself and then like holla. Like, okay.
Dollar bill, y'all.
Hey.
Yes.
So, Cristo is a licensed marriage family therapist and a meditation guide. Ibrahim is a licensed massage practitioner and recently, over the last years,
health coach as well.
Health coach, yes. So I think that you guys are really doing it and making your Holistic Healers community name stick out, just what you guys are both doing. So you also, what I know that I've read up on is that you do networking.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that you also do sound bath events, which I plan to come to one because I'm completely interested and all about in the last 2 years about healing.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
So, and let's not forget there's one more thing. You guys have your own podcast.
Yes, we do. Yes,
so this will be the first of like really like doing the podcast type thing. So it's pretty dope. I'm loving this feeling. And you had 23 episodes. When did you guys get started?
Ooh, what was it, like October of last year?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah.
October of this past year is when we started the podcast.
Yes.
We actually met almost a year ago now in May of last year.
Yeah.
And we started our networking events in August of last year.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're here. And we've been...
Go ahead, sorry.
And now we're here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I did. Okay. So I know that you said that you met like about a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
What actually brought you two together?
Mm-hmm. So we are both solo practitioners, and I'm in private practice, and that gets lonely, So I was really looking to connect with other individuals in the holistic realm.
Mm-hmm.
So I literally just started Googling holistic in my area, Claremont, and anybody with a business name with holistic in it, I just started cold emailing. And Ibrahim's his business's name is Holistic Bodywork by Ibrahim.
Mm-hmm.
So I just emailed him and I was like, hey, you're a holistic practitioner, so am I want to meet you. And so we met up for a coffee date May 1st. So anniversary's coming up.
Yeah.
So May 1st we met up, had a coffee date, and just started chatting about the holistic realm, what we individually do, all the other people we've been meeting.
Yes.
And we just thought, hey, wouldn't it be so cool? Everybody I've been networking with and meeting in this realm, everybody you've been networking and meeting in this realm, to bring them all together to establish a community instead of these like one-on-one coffee dates. I want people to come together and work together. And we were able to acknowledge that what we do as individual practitioners, like, it's not the end-all be-all when it comes to healing.
Right.
Like, I can provide therapy, but that in and of itself for people sometimes isn't enough. Mm-hmm. And he can provide massage therapy, health coaching, but sometimes that in and of itself isn't enough.
Mm-hmm.
It works best when you have that holistic that approach where you're doing a lot of different things in order to ensure that people are receiving everything that they need to in order to heal.
Right. So for those who may not know out there, what is holistic? Like when we start to talk about like holistic healing, holistic therapy, massages.
Holistic is the broader spectrum of health, not just something that's targeted to one specific area. It's like looking at the whole body. Mm-hmm. It's not just viewing healing from one perspective. It's viewing healing from head to toe, inside out, mind, body, and soul. It's more than just, I'm going to get a shot. No, it's more about being mindful. It's more about what you eat. It's more about exercise. It's viewing health from the whole body's perspective.
Okay.
Yes.
So you hear mind, body, spirit a lot, but I would also add our culture is part of our holistic nature, the social aspect of our lives, the occupational, the environmental. There's so much else that goes into overall wellness. So it's looking at the big picture instead of just one tiny facet of ourselves.
So do you guys also have, I know it's you too, do you have other partners or individuals that work with you? Because like you said, it's a whole thing. So like medication, people who don't want to do medications, or individuals who may, I don't know, what are other things?
Yeah, we actually have a whole community. Once we started networking and having our networking events, more and more holistic practitioners started to join our community. And we have acupuncture, we have chiropractor, we have
Reiki practitioners,
Reiki masters, massage therapists,
licensed therapists.
A lot of licensed therapists. We have
an herbalist,
naturopaths,
tarot readers,
yes.
So many different
dietitians. We have a plethora. Yes, we have a plethora.
Any type
of people.
of wellness you can think of, estheticians.
Right.
Yes, estheticians as well.
So
skincare.
Skincare.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What would you say as far as like how did the community grow? Because how many members do you have like now? I make it sound like it's a cult. How many members do you have right now? When did this all begin?
Well, we started in August of this past year, and right now we're currently at about 40 members, still growing.
Closer to 50.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think just this past week we got a few more.
Yeah. So people are coming every single event. We get new people, and so we've got a good network at this point. But our very first meetup in August of last year, there were 5 of us, me and him included.
Yeah.
So we had,
look at 5 to 50. That's amazing, and that only says that it's gonna grow more. Because I know people are really looking for other ways to help their bodies and not just always have to look towards like, oh, I have to get on medication. Oh,
exactly.
I have to have this intense therapy. No, I think there are like amazing ways to really just calm yourself inside, because it all starts inside completely. So I have to ask, these are individual questions, and they're kind of, well, they're going to be individual, but it's going to be the same question.
Sure.
What brought you to therapy? Crystal.
Yeah. So for me, it started way back in my teenage years. I came from a family where emotions were taboo. We didn't talk about the tough stuff. We wanted everything to be a pretty picture. And even from a young age, I knew that felt wrong. I've always been pretty compassionate, empathetic, like just very attuned to my emotions. And so thankfully, when I started going through a hard time in my teenage years, my parents acknowledged that they weren't able to really support me in that area. They weren't familiar with like the emotional talk. So they sent me to therapy, and I fell in love with it. I was like, oh my goodness, people do this for a living. You talk about emotions all day. You normalize it. This is amazing. So yeah, 15 years old, and I knew I wanted to be a therapist. I knew I wanted to help people in that way. So yeah, I started pursuing that career path, went to college for my undergrad in psychology, and then eventually my master's. But along the way, also started exploring other healing modalities. So fell in love with Buddhism, fell in love with yoga, fell in love with other things that I eventually started merging into my practice.
Okay.
So although I do provide individual therapy, I also incorporate a lot of Eastern wellness practices into my practice. So breath work, yoga, energy work. I want to make sure that I'm coming at therapy in this way that really incorporates our spirituality as well, not just mind and emotions.
Okay, so I do want to go back, and I'm gonna come back to you for yours. I remember you guys saying like, you have tarot card readings, and I think that sometimes people feel this is kind of more on like a religious thing, where people feel like, oh, well, that's witchcraft. That's the first thing you hear. And for me, I believe in God. However, I don't want to say however, but I also think that God gives people talents and gifts, and to help people who don't know how to come for help and ask for help. Because I can tell you multiple times where I've just had individuals like come up to me and say, hey, it's if you do this, this is what's gonna happen. So am I supposed to think that's witchcraft? Like, no. Like, I feel like sometimes these are messages that are meant for us to hear. So just giving you guys viewpoint on what you feel, especially because I did watch the one about slowing down.
Yes.
Listen to the one that you guys talked about. So what do you both feel about it, especially since you both had your tarot cards read?
Oh yeah.
We actually had an episode about this.
All things woo woo.
Yes, all things woo woo. We also had an episode about when we had someone deep in faith, also in the holistic world.
Oh, when faith and wellness coincide.
Coincide,
Oh, wow,
yes,
okay.
correct.
Yeah,
so
so
we
2 different episodes where we kind of address these topics, but
even today's episode we kind of brought that
a
up.
little bit,
Yeah, we did.
It's something that comes up often. There's a lot of people that may be curious in these practices, but maybe afraid because religion says, that this stuff is like the devil's work. It's, and so I get that. Absolutely. We respect it. But I think the All Things Woo Woo episode in particular gives such a beautiful explanation on it, because that's where the person who read our tarot cards, Gina, she went to explain what tarot is, how it works, and I love how she explained it. She was essentially saying the cards just tell a story and you interpret it in the way that you interpret it. But it's similar to if you were to read a self-help book, it's going to give you whatever message you interpret out of that. You take what you need, you leave the rest. Right. Same if you go to therapy and you're actually talking to your therapist on the week-to-week basis about what's going on in your life, you interpret it in a particular way. It's your subjective experience. And she said even with art forms, if you go to a museum and look at a pretty painting, you interpret it. Yeah. So that's what the cards are. They tell a story, but how you interpret it, what you do with that information, totally up to you.
Right.
And so, there are some people that are going to look at that and interpret it as witchcraft, or this is scary, or this is taboo, whatever it may be. But there are a lot of people who see these practices, these modalities, as beautiful forms of healing and things that help us get closer to our intuition, to our sense of self, and things that just create some clarity in our lives. And so I just thought that was such a beautiful explanation.
Yes.
Right. Agree. And it's just amazing how it's like, oh my gosh, how do you, like, it reads really what you're going through. And then, like, I agree with you. It's completely from it's your turn to decide what you want to do with that information. What do you think?
I think that everyone has the ability to choose. We were given that choice, and it's up to you to decide whether this is going to work for you or it's not going to work for you. And what we've discovered, at least, speaking from my personal experience, is that we have to be open-minded. The world is vast, and there's so much going on here that we can't always just look at one thing from one perspective and understand it in its entirety. This is just not going to happen. We have to step out of that, look at it from different angles in order to get the full, broader spectrum of what it is we're dealing with. Otherwise, we're just tunnel vision. And nobody wants to sit here and just say, oh, this is the only way, this is the way that I know, because there's so much out there. If there was only one way, there'd be only one way.
Right.
We wouldn't have such a diversity on this planet that we do have. So I think it's good for people to at least allow themselves to be open-minded, to explore, to try different things. Your health is your wealth. The more you can find healing from different aspects of the world, from different mindsets, from different modalities, the better off you are.
Yeah.
Right.
Everyone is just trying to heal. We're all just trying to be better versions of who we are.
Right. And I think if people looked at, I know we always talk about like having a green thumb. Yeah, don't have one of those. However, at the end of the day, our bodies are gardens.
Yes.
And there is a certain type of soil, a certain amount of water that we need to give our souls, our hearts, because our heart is the thing that is beating the most. Yes, we need to put vitamins and everything, but our words, everything make a difference in the balance of it all. So I'm all about it. So so now I'm going over to you.
Yes.
So what brought you into one? I have such a bad joke about massage therapists. I mean, it's, I used to date a guy who is a certified massage therapist, and I'd be like, dude, you guys are just a bunch of pervs that just want to touch on people. And I don't mean to offend anybody.
Yes.
It's just a joke.
No offense taken. I am very passionate about what I do, and I love it. And basically, for me, it started when I was about 13 years old. You know, obviously, for both of us, it started with us at a much younger age. I was 13 years old. I had a 5-minute, maybe less, neck and shoulder massage from a cousin who was doing my hair and just decided to rub my neck and shoulders. And it was the most amazing experience I'd ever had at the time. It was just like, wow, I don't know what she just did, but it felt great. Right. Started mimicking it. Junior high, high school, college, army, just kept doing it. Would have competitions with the homies at school about who could be the best massage there, who did the best massages. And I would always win.
Is that how y'all got the ladies?
It was always a competition that we had always had fun with. And yeah, I mean, it was, at the time, it was just fun. It was just, it wasn't something I ever thought I was going to do professionally. It wasn't until my 20s that I decided, you know what? I was working at a Lowe's warehouse, distribution warehouse, and I had, we only had 30-minute lunch breaks. I would work on people, massage necks here and there, and it went from me doing it for free to it being a line of people to a line of people saying, I'll pay you to massage me.
Oh, wow.
So after that, I was there for a few months, and after that, I was like, you know what, maybe I should really look into this and go to school and see what this is about. I worked on a friend of mine who was a massage therapist. She told me that I had a good sense of touch, and all I needed was training. Ended up going to the same school with her. A couple years after that, I started working at Burke Williams Day Spa. Worked there for about 17 years. 17 years at Burke Williams Day Spa. I did everything with the company, was the senior recruiter when I left. If you go to their website, you might still see images of me on their website, part of the recruiting video and all that.
Did anyone follow you when you left?
Some people found me. Actually, people are still finding me to this day, that I'm just surprised. And sometimes I hate to say it, I don't really remember them, because I mean, I've worked on over 100,000 people. I've touched 100,000 bodies in my career, over 100,000 bodies.
Okay,
and
that's a lot of bodies.
It is a lot of bodies. It's a lot of hours.
Yes.
I
know that sounds really bad. Like, a lot of bodies makes you sound like you're a killer or something. Like, that's a lot of bodies.
No, it's a great experience. I'm not gonna lie. Burke Williams was a wonderful experience for me, and taught me a lot. Gave me so much insight and drive to.
You can tighten them up.
Oh, right side. Here.
Yeah.
Technical errors, but that's okay. We got it together now.
All right.
And I still, to this day, I've been in this career for 23 years. I've been in holistic body worker for 23 years, and I still love what I do. I'm still doing it. Health coaching came around, and I just was like, wow, this makes a lot of sense, because about over a decade ago, I started juicing, and that changed my life.
Taught me how to juice.
Yep, taught her how to juice. Wow. I teach people how to juice.
So let's talk about the juicing part, because I know that sometimes I hear, like, if you juice too much, that's too much sugar, because of course we know those are natural sugars, but that also can be a lot of sugar in your body too. Depends
on the balance. Depends on what you're juicing. I've been doing this for a really long time, and have found a really good balance to where it's not too much sugar. And one thing I have learned over the years is that natural sugar, it's still natural. It's not refined processed sugar. It's gonna be better for you. Actually saw some documentary about how they always want diabetics to stay away from natural sugars because it's still sugars. But there was a doctor who came out with some information talking about how natural sugars are actually still helping people with diabetes. So it can only be really bad if you are consuming refined processed sugars.
Right. So if you were just to give an example, just to help somebody out who may be thinking to themselves like, hey, I want to try that, what would you suggest?
I would highly recommend watching the documentary. What really got me started was a documentary called Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead.
Okay.
It blew my mind. I saw the information on there. I saw the results of these people, and it changed my life. It changed my perspective, and it drove me to start juicing.
Okay.
And I've had, gosh, like 10 juicers since. I donate them. I give them away every time I upgrade. I buy people juicers all the time.
Okay.
Not all the time, but I can't afford that. But I will introduce people to juicers and juicing. And if you're interested in changing your life, do some research. Just find out what it can actually do for you, because it can really change. It changed my life. I lost 40 pounds in under 2 months. Not just juicing. I changed my lifestyle. I incorporated juicing. Of course, I stopped eating processed sugars. I was only eating meat once a week, red meat once a week, chicken maybe once a week, fish every other day, and I was juicing 2 to 3 times a day when I lost that weight. And I haven't gone back to that, because I was about 50 pounds heavier than what you see now.
And what's your experience with Crystal?
Yeah, it's been similar. So mine wasn't as dramatic of a shift. I was always about a similar size, but I did end up losing about 10 pounds over the course of 5 months or so. And that was without doing anything other than just juicing. I didn't change my diet at all. I didn't add any sort of exercise. But I lost the 10 pounds. And it's really about paying attention to how you feel when it comes to the juicing. So I've been juicing consistently. I think you taught me September of last year. And I've juiced every single week with the exception of 1 week when I was on vacation. But I've juiced every single week since. I've been very consistent with it. And it just makes me feel good, more energized. I don't really drink caffeine anymore. It's pretty rare. Or if I do, it's more just because I really like tea, as opposed to feeling like I need that caffeine in the morning. So I'm more energized, and I've also used it to cut back on snacking. So I'll have my juice in between meals, and instead of grabbing, processed foods or whatever I might have snacked on before, I'm drinking the juice. So yeah, I would 100% rather have that natural sugar, as opposed to the processed food in my body.
And I'm just feeling so bad because I'm like, y'all want some chips? You want some popcorn? Just feel home and welcome on stage with me. Go ahead. And you gotta like, she don't know our lives, do she?
Yeah.
So.
And I want to say real quick too, I didn't start exercising until after I lost that weight.
Really?
So when I was juicing and I lost that 40 pounds in under 2 months, I didn't start exercising until after that. So
did you see any, because women bodies, my body, it's like if I lose the weight, you kind of see, especially 40 in 2 months, you see like just the skin change and everything.
For me, it was very natural because it was just kind of melting off. There wasn't. I mean, everyone around me saw it faster than I did. I felt it in my clothes.
Right.
Definitely, without question. Sometimes I keep one pair of jeans that I used to wear that were, I can't believe to this day that how big they were. But I keep them around because they're like this. And I'm just like, wow, that's pretty wide for me from where I was to where I'm at now and where I should be.
Right.
But the change was subtle because I didn't just stop, completely everything. I didn't just juice.
Right.
But I was almost losing basically like a pound a week. I mean, almost a pound a day for a little while there because I was just juicing. But I would still eat. I added a lot of carbs. I was eating a lot of carbs during that process. A lot of rice, a lot of bread, a lot of sandwiches.
And you still were just...
And I was still dropping weight. Still dropping weight.
Wow.
It was amazing. My face, my energy level in the mornings. People were like,
high.
what are you on? I'd get to work and, woo, let's go, everybody, let's go. They're like, yo, it's too early for that. It's too early.
I would be one of those people.
Yeah.
So I watched the episode which you watch. I keep saying watch. I'm used to watch. Listen to an episode, and just a key thing that you both brought up was just being still and just slowing down and just, being mindful. Like all those words. And I'm like, okay, I know about mindfulness. And do I practice it all the time? No, but I am I'm trying to get there. And so for somebody like who doesn't understand, like, where do you go with mindfulness? Because I think it was the example. What example did you give where it was kind of like the lady, she was something happened to her, or I can even give an example. Say I just completely, like how I forgot about the mic. And I could easily say, like, oh, it's over. It's going to be a horrible show. I have to hold this thing up to my mouth the whole time. And my hand has to be stiff. I could have, like, all this negative energy about it. But I'm like, no, this is going to be fun. I'm going to feel like a game show host for about an hour. And it's going to be okay, And long as they both are comfortable and how they're sitting, I'm good.
Yeah.
So would that be a form of like mindfulness and just really being in that moment and just letting things go and just seeing the positivity in it?
It can be. So it sounds like it's a form of mindfulness of just being aware of your thoughts in the present moment, which is, it can be really hard to do, especially if you tend to be very in your head, of like more of a overthinker, an anxious person.
Oh, yeah.
That it can be so easy for those thoughts to turn into racing thoughts. And so where we have 100 thoughts a minute, and it's so hard to actually catch them and pinpoint what is like the content of what's going through our minds. So one mindfulness practice can absolutely be tracking the content of our thoughts and the quality of our thoughts. Are they veering towards the negative? And if so, can I sort of stop, pause in that moment and start to reframe them? Can I shift towards the positive? Can I reframe it and be like, no, this is going to be fun. I'm going to be a game show host. I'm going to be,
Yeah.
So that's one form of mindfulness, but there's so many. And I think it's just not enough people have a firm enough understanding of what mindfulness is to begin with.
Right.
And so you hear the word mindfulness and you think of like more formal practices like meditation, right? But mindfulness is simply present moment awareness. So being in the present moment on purpose and without judgment. So sort of allowing whatever comes up to come up and not attaching that judgment piece to it. So not becoming critical of yourself for whatever comes up, recognizing that it's okay and you have a little bit of control over it. You can shift it if it's something that's uncomfortable. And so when it comes to my clients in particular, if they're really wanting to get into mindfulness, I'm not even going to teach them things like meditation right off the bat, because it's really hard to go from not knowing anything about mindfulness at all to suddenly sitting still for 10 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever.
Yeah.
That is really hard. You're essentially setting yourself up for failure if you jump straight to that. So I teach them a lot of forms of mindfulness that can take 2 minutes, and I would rather have people practice mindfulness for a minute or 2 minutes at a time, 20 times throughout the day, than try to sit down for 20 straight minutes and then get frustrated with themselves and give up and never do it again, or won't try it again for another week or month or whatever.
Right.
So I teach things like using your 5 senses, bringing awareness to your 5 senses, finding out which of your senses feels pleasurable or stimulating in ways that you want to stay there for that minute or two and savor that sensation. I teach them how to wash their hands mindfully, because we're coming out of COVID and all of that, and everybody was washing their hands 50 times a day, right? And so it became such an automatic thing. People will just kind of like mindlessly just go through the motions and not actually pay attention to that process. But bringing mindfulness into it looks like, can we set the water temperature to a temperature that's really pleasing to us, instead of just like the first thing the first faucet you grab. So really setting it to that nice warm temperature, being mindful about rinsing your hands first when you're lathering that soap. Am I getting everywhere? Tops of the hands, palms, in between the fingers, underneath the fingernails.
Those nails, because y'all know some of you out there, your tissue is not right. I'm just saying.
Yes. But can you get every part of your hand lathered? Same with the rinsing process. Most of us rinse very quickly and don't realize like we still have some soap bubbles there. Same with the drying process. We just kind of like dry real quick and then walk off, but we still have like damp hands when we walk away. Can I dry thoroughly? Can I make sure everything is completely dry by the time I walk out of here? And so that practice, you are with intention bringing all of your awareness to that moment. You're forcing your attention there. And so little things like that, people don't realize you can wash your hands in a mindful way. You can use your senses in a mindful way. You can, so those are the things I teach more frequently. And it usually helps my clients get to a point where they want to learn more. They realize the present moment is usually much better than what's in your mind.
Right.
Our minds are chaotic.
Yeah, it's about getting people there though,
Yes.
right? Because I'm sure it's like, I ain't got time for that. What is this? Which is, but I think that's, to me, is when when someone's ready. The I don't got time for this is usually those who are like still on that fence about therapy or about just growing. And I had a conversation, I don't know if you can answer this. What is the difference between a health coach, a life coach, and a therapist?
Well, a health coach is going to basically help guide you towards a better lifestyle of more knowledge on what you're putting into your body, bringing you awareness to what you're putting into your body and how those things affect your body. I believe you said a life coach? A life coach, I think I'm not really sure, but I think it's...
I can speak a little bit more to the differences between a life coach and a therapist. So usually it's going to be, first of all, the license. So for therapists, for me personally, to become a licensed marriage and family therapist, I had to get my master's, and then I had to complete 3,000 hours worth of experience. So that one-on-one, that therapy experience under supervision. So somebody who was already licensed had to make sure that I was adequately trained to be able to provide that type of service. Now, there are a lot of life coaches that were initially therapists. So I think it's not necessarily the license itself that is different, but the way that you operate. Because when it comes to a licensed therapist, we have a lot of legal and ethical guidelines. And so that's really what dictates how we run our practice. And whereas life coaches right now, they don't have any sort of board that is monitoring their how they operate. They're kind of, it's like the Wild West out there with life coaches. Like they are operating to their capacity. They are making their own rules. And so I think a lot of like therapists in particular that are shifting to life coaching, they're doing it because they don't want that like strict, those restrictions in regards to how they operate, how they practice. And so that's a big difference there. It's all about how they operate. And for some, life coaching looks a little more appealing because you can do things like you can sell yourself in like packages instead of, like a therapist, we can't have clients pay for future sessions. Like we can't sell 10 sessions at once. Because then we're coercing them, to continue coming because they've already paid, and they're like, well, do I lose that money if I stop? So there's so many ethical guidelines there. Versus life coaches can promote themselves in that way. They can be like, I can sell you this package, like 12 sessions for X amount of money, and within that time frame, we're gonna make X, Y, and Z results. So it's mostly about the way that we operate, and sometimes about the training, because there are some people that can get certified in like a weekend certification, and somebody's
now they're a life coach.
And now they're a life coach.
Change people's lives all over the world.
Exactly. And so that's a little bit scary, because if you're working with things like, I'm thinking trauma in particular, like, oh, you've got to have some thorough knowledge and training in order to address that, because you can do more damage if you don't have adequate training. So
So I would think that it would be more, if anything, to coincide with like a therapist and a life coach, because I would say that a life coach can give you the interventions, but like the deep rooted stuff, you probably should work with your therapist, right?
I think it still depends, because I think there are some coaches that can do some deep rooted stuff. We were just talking to Amber today, and so we did a podcast earlier with one of our guests, or one of our members of the community. And she's a life coach, but she does it from this spiritual approach, which I think is so beautiful. And so, there's a lot of like deep-rooted stuff that she can, like ancestral stuff that she can dive into. And
really exciting.
And so I think it just really depends on exactly what you're wanting to target. So if it's something that is psychological, like if it's, you know, a specific diagnosis, and if it's trauma that's happened in your lifespan, if it's, you know, if it has to do with something related to a psychological disorder, then yeah, I would probably go to a therapist because they have that more thorough training in that specific way.
Right.
But if it's something a little more woo-woo or something a little
Right.
like not a lot of therapists are, you know, like, yes, I integrate a little bit of that Eastern wellness stuff into my practice, but there's not a lot of therapists that do that. So they're going to come at it from more of the mental, emotional, that psychological space. And so yeah, if you're coming at it from like, I want to work on something that feels a little more like it's a little bit more beyond just me. It might also be ancestral or coming from my family lineage. It might be like a timeline therapy sort of thing. It might be like a little more on that woo-woo side. Like, you're probably going to have a better time with a life coach because they don't have as many restrictions. They can practice from a different way where those ethics aren't going to get in the way.
Right. So, Ibrahim.
You're still having a hard time saying my name, huh?
Ibrahim. Yeah, a
well,
little
I
bit.
mean, you know me as Emi, and you've known
I'm
me as
not
that
sure
for
if
a long time.
do I know you? I didn't know I knew you. We
Yeah.
know each other past here. What are you talking about, Ibrahim? I just maybe want to say your name correctly.
Yes, please do.
Don't.
Please do.
So I was kind of reading up on just the different things that you do.
Yes.
And one thing that it, of course, caught my eye is anything about the stomach. So,
Lymphatic, yes. Manual
drainage.
lymphatic drainage, yes. MLD.
So
Yes.
a lot of, especially as we get older, start having like stomachs that we didn't know where they came from. They just all of a sudden exist.
Yes,
Now they
yes.
exist. So yes.
Well, diet is everything. What we consume obviously changes as we grow. And also our activities in life. Now, the lymphatic system is the body sewage system. It's how the body gets rid of toxins and, gets toxins out of our bodies.
Right.
Now, what happens, the only way this system moves is if we're hydrated, if we're active, exercising, or if we're getting the body work done. That's why it's called manual lymphatic drainage, MLD. It has to be done manually. It doesn't have to be done manually, but if you don't exercise, if you don't move, if you don't hydrate enough, then it's going to help getting the work done.
Right.
For instance, post-surgery, I have clients right now that are coming. Mommy makeovers is really big. The 360 lipo, manual lymphatic drainage is essential to help the body heal from after these surgeries, and also to remove the toxins that your body is creating from the waste, from the surgery itself,
Right.
or altercations, whatever it may be, and. Swelling goes down. You're healing faster. You're feeling better. You're gonna sleep better. Your body is recovering faster,
Right.
instead of just laying still. What's amazing right now, that this is the time where I'm hearing more of my clients that are coming in for lymphatic drainage saying that their doctors are recommending it. This was not happening before. Before, you would get surgery and then you just sit there and you'd get swelling. You just have to,
deal with it
and take time, and it would take a longer time to heal. Now people are healing faster because they're receiving manual lymphatic drainage, and it's not just for that too. It's not just for surgeries, but also for any kind of swelling. A lot of people, are walking around inflamed.
Yes.
Inflammation is
real. Oh my gosh.
It's like a really big issue that people are just not paying enough attention to. It's actually, we're starting to get more awareness of it. However, there's still a stigma, or there's still lack of information in regards to it, and there's just not enough knowledge being given out there about the lymphatic drainage system, about healing properly, about food. I mean, you said we're around the same. We grew up around the same time, so we weren't taught anything about food.
Right.
This is all something that we had to learn ourselves. Lymphatic drainage system. A lot of people don't even know what that is.
Not at all.
Yeah. but it's part of your body.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you want to explain it so that individuals
Well, I mean,
will
that's
know?
it's part of your body, your lymphatic drainage system. There's many points everywhere that your body can drain, and it has to be functional. And if it's not functional, you tend to swell up. People sometimes will have swelling under their armpits. People when they get sick and they have that swelling under their throat.
Right.
It's that's all part of your lymphatic system being blocked up. And because we're not consuming enough water, because we're not exercising enough, because we're not eating the right foods, because we're putting more toxins in our body than we are nutrients, our lymphatic system gets backed up.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I just have to ask both of you. So I, in season 1, I kind of just brought up the thing of, people do want healing. People do want therapy. They want like the
Lymphatic drainage massage. Yeah.
massage. They want that service.
Yes.
I think that was the word I was trying to look for.
Yeah.
They want your services, but it's always about finances. We're in a time where you're working 5-6 jobs just to survive, to keep your apartment or your house up and moving. So how does that work for you guys?
It varies in regards for lymphatic drainage or any services I offer. You have to go to my website and see what kind of service you're looking for. This work is not going to be cheap, but I mean, neither is that bottle of liquor that you drinking or that food that you go out to eat. And, a lot of people spend money going out to eat all the time. And it's just a matter of prioritizing. What are you going to value more, your health or your fun? It's like, what are you going to value more? That steak or, that steak pot maybe making you sick, clogging you up. So it's just, services are not going to be cheap because we've trained. I've been in this industry for 23 years. We've spent a lot of money educating. I've trained overseas with Thai massage. I've been in this industry for a really long time. So it's not going to be cheap, but this is your health. Your health is your wealth. And if you don't take care of yourself, you don't want the doctors to do it.
Right.
Because they're just going to...
You don't.
Yeah.
I agree. I do agree with you that that is the case. But then I also, not to play devil's advocate here, but if at the end of the day, I think for maybe some people is like, okay, well, if it's that much more, well, hey, let me just keep doing what I'm doing. If it costs this much just to take care of myself. But the unfortunate part about it is, yes, you will end up going to a doctor, and there will be medicines and everything else like that.
This is where education comes into play.
Right.
You got to understand what it is that you're doing for yourself. You got to understand your body, your mind, your body, your soul. It all works together. And if you don't educate yourself, because obviously this country wasn't designed to educate us in that.
Right.
It's obvious what this system is here for. It's definitely not for your health. It's to profit from your health, from your lack of health.
Right.
So it's up to us to educate ourselves now, or at least to seek education. And that's when you can come to her and I, and we can help you. And to our community as well. We host events once a month. We have networking. We have a special events as well, where, like, for instance, you said the sound bath. We have one this Sunday.
Right.
Hopefully you can make it to that. Networking event on the 25th of this month, once a month. Follow us on Instagram, all that.
Right. It just says because I don't think they'll see this episode until after that.
That's okay, because there's another one next month.
There's always
and another
more.
one the month after that. And there's, but educate yourself as best as you possibly can. And if you don't know how to do it, seek the knowledge. Find people that can help you.
Right. And I think that's one of the goals here is, like you said, this is like a wide world and things are changing and everything. And I want to bring as much knowledge to individuals that I can through you guys and other individuals that I meet, and just random things that people are like, would you say cliche, or would you say what's taboo? Like letting them know, okay, this is what exists, and you can either choose to act like it doesn't and just be straight and narrow, or you can open up your mind and realize, no, there is more to this world than what you already know or have been taught. So we really are at 3 minutes, but I really, being that it's 2 of you, and it's like, I think the conversation is really going. Like I'm feeling it. And just what you have to say. I know we're on the time. thing. So I just have to ask both of you. So it's tea time. No, I'm just joking. But what are some positive? What's a positive and a negative experience that you guys have had just with becoming partners and just meeting new people and just even probably even individual? What is just a story that you can give?
Well, yeah, I'm gonna say I haven't experienced anything negative yet. Like, honestly, I feel ever since we've met, everything has just kind of been falling into place. Because our mission is the same.
Yeah, definitely. It's so much more positive. So we just feel so grateful as our community is growing, as we're meeting people that are in alignment with our vision and what we're wanting, creating this community. It has been, we are so grateful. We are so, like, we walk away from all of our special events, our networking events, feeling just so filled up, so giddy, so like, ooh, it's
for
beautiful.
Real, like for real.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, I know, I get it. When it's working and you're like, yes, this was amazing. It makes you just smile and be like, ooh, upbeat. Because I wanted to say that both of you just seem so positive and just like everything's just copacetic and I just want to say, So what else has been happening in the world of holistic healing?
Well, we're here to bring that awareness to everybody. Right, the holistic world is growing. There's a lot more awareness. The world is shifting. People want something different. COVID changed a lot of things, opened up a lot of minds. So it's definitely time to shift that, the traditional Western medicine, just do this, just do that, pop this, pop that, into, okay, now it's just time for a lifestyle change.
Right.
For me, when I was juicing, it was a lifestyle change. I didn't lose that weight because I kept doing the same thing.
Right.
I changed some things, and I incorporated juicing. I lost that much weight faster because I changed some things. But still, I'm getting the nutrients I need, but I had to seek that out. I sought that information out, and I kept wanting more and more and more of it. Yeah. So, it's just... the holistic world is growing. Our community is growing. We're so grateful for our community. There's so much happening. And I mean, we have a podcast. I mean, I honestly, a year ago today, there's no way I would have thought that we, be here with you doing a podcast, even having our own podcast.
Right.
I mean, I didn't even know what a podcast was until we started doing our podcast. So
no clue. We just
dove into it, and things like we were talking about earlier, we don't stress out on it. Sometimes we'll be like, oh man, we're not even really ready for this. And just everything just falls into place.
Right.
Because I think because we want something more. We want something better. We're passionate about it. Yeah. And we want something different. And it just happens to everything fall into place.
Yeah.
So let me see the question that I have for both of you separately, but same question. What do you do for your self-care?
Me first?
Yeah.
So self-care is an every single day thing for both of us. And it's about just different aspects. So for me personally, every single morning I wake up and before I even get out of bed, I'm meditating. I refuse to get out of bed before I meditate. And then it's just about a million different choices that I'm making throughout the day. So a lot of it is, what am I putting into my body? So making sure that when I'm waking up, what sort of breakfast am I having? Is it nutritious? Is it actually going to energize me? Am I getting outside? Am I getting some fresh air? Am I getting some sunlight? Am I getting some movement? Am I getting, what type of content am I absorbing all day? Because so many of us are glued to our phones, right? We're scrolling through, but what I'm absorbing on my phone, is it actually filling me up? Is it inspiring me, or is it dragging me down? Am I feeling really drained after scrolling for a while? So curating my feed to make sure I'm cutting out everything that doesn't make me feel good, and only looking at what fills me up. it's things like really paying attention to, like, constantly looking inward, paying attention to the quality of my thoughts, where my emotions stand, so making sure that I'm always doing those self check-ins, so that if I start to notice that I veer in a direction that isn't favorable, that I'm catching it early on, and I'm doing what I can to bring myself back to, reground myself. So it's things like that. It's everyday choices that are happening. So self-care isn't this like once a week, once a month sort of, thing. It's every day, and it comes from multiple angles.
Yeah, for me, it's exactly the same. I seek more knowledge. I just want to learn as much as I possibly can. And I think that's the best way for us to have better self-care. We have to learn. And I that's why I'm super grateful for our community, because we have a variety of people with all kinds of modalities, with all kinds of skills and passions and talents, that we seek each other out first. Our community isn't about networking for clients. Our community is about building a community that supports each other, healers that support healers. That's what we are first. If if you get a referral, if I send a referral to someone, that happens because I trust that this person is going to take care of my client and become their client, and I mean, it's about us working together to be better, to help each other be better, so we can be better for our clients.
So how can you be better for yourself? Self-care. It's like you focused on it, and it's almost like you just went straight to, this is how I can help everybody else.
How
do you help you?
I wake up in the morning, I meditate, I make my bed. Okay? Yeah. Start with one thing. If you're having a hard time shifting your life, start with one thing. Make my bed. I drink water. I meditate. I exercise. I cook. I cook a lot. And I love to cook. I spend time with family and friends. We build. We have our meetings. We have our community. I love my children. I'm a father. I have 4 children, and I love spending time with them. That's like my life and my family. And, just reading, educating. I'm like a sound engineer because I wanted to learn how to do a podcast. Right. I'm not a sound engineer, like I didn't go to school for it, but I know how to do a podcast now. I know how to do the recording. I'm still learning for the video situation, but I seek more knowledge. Yes. And that's, for me, that's my self-care. Yeah. Like I have to have more knowledge. Yes. I love it, and I want to grow, and I always want to grow. I don't ever want to stop learning. I don't ever want to stop learning.
And again, going back to that community aspect, there are things that you taught me that I wouldn't have learned unless you came into my life, and things that I taught you. And so, you wouldn't know it based off of our podcast and our networking groups and all of that, but I'm very introverted. And
really?
I really am. And
I definitely appreciate you coming on here today.
and so, but it was Ibrahim that came into my life and started pulling me out of my shell, and again, being around the right kind of people that just align, and that brought me out of my shell. And so now I feel so much more comfortable than I ever did in the past with getting out there, putting my name out there, meeting new people, talking about all this stuff that lights us up. So Ibrahim taught me, how to be more comfortable in that space. And likewise, I think for you, we had talked about this before, it was more about that slowing down, listening a little bit better sort of aspect of things. But you can speak more to that.
I mean, without question. I'm always busy, always running. Chris, we've helped each other out so much, find balance. And I think that's the beautiful thing about our community, is that we are constantly helping each other out.
Right.
We're constantly learning from each other. I'm still learning from her. It's not like
that's
it's done.
It's supposed to be.
Yeah, it's not like we're done learning from each other. We are continuously learning from each other. And as the community grows, we continue to learn from the community as well.
Right. That's beautiful. Because I believe in that. Like, you it can't be one person feeling like they're teaching everybody. Like, you guys have you have to be open-minded to learn from other people, because we're all different walks of life seeking the same thing. So there's something that I almost forgot to do, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry, camera guy. I forgot to do this. It's my random segment. How dare I?
Oh, yes.
Like, so we take the jar.
Mm-hmm.
You shake
This
it up.
one right here?
That beautiful little jar.
You want me to grab it
there.
now?
Oh, yeah, you can go ahead and grab it. Shake it on up. And then open it up and pick one of my wonderful little stickies. Oh, just one. We
just one?
time.
Okay.
Just one. And we'll talk about it.
Okay. Do you believe that we are still in a world of racism?
Hmm?
Yeah, definitely.
Without question.
I think in a lot of ways people have gotten a little more covert about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not as out there as it used to be in an in your face way. But yeah, absolutely. I think racism is so sneaky, and I think like people are finding more creative ways to still
bring it up. And
exactly.
It's interesting that you say that they're more covert. I don't feel like they are. I feel that especially within like the last, so I feel that it did take a break in the last 4 years. And I'm sorry to put this out there because I don't really like to talk politics, but I think that once we had our president we've had for the last 4 years in place, it's kind of made people go under the radar a little bit. However, as we get closer, because this is a year of election, I'm starting to see it again, and I'm starting to hear it again, and it's like, it's crazy how one individual can make all these people feel like they have a voice to be evil.
Yeah, that's true.
And not feel like they are better than others, because to me that's what it is. You don't even know an individual to hate them, but that's where you want to go. So I think that's where I feel that racism does still exist. And I'm sorry, I don't want to just, because I'll keep going. Like,
it's all good. It's all good.
I think that we talk about where the thing of, all I see is love. Love has no color. Have you heard that?
I've heard it.
Love has no color.
I've heard it, but it's like then you're blind. You're colorblind.
Or you're really minimizing other people's experiences.
Yeah,
You're very much so.
Yeah, there's no love has no color. Love has color. Love, that's what makes love so bright. Because it has color. We're supposed to be different, but we're supposed to be leading our lives with love and gratitude.
Right.
And if we're not living that way, then what are we doing?
Right.
Yeah, to love is to see the color, and to embrace it and accept it and honor it and honor. Exactly.
Right.
Yes.
And I also feel that, that we have to look at the fact that sometimes, as much as we want everybody to be so copacetic and as one, that's not always the case in why people do the things that they do. And that's the things that we need to acknowledge. Like, okay, it sounds beautiful because we want it to be, or because, again, like you said, minimize what other people are experiencing behind it. But I think that's the part where we really start to respect each other, is because, you know what, your experience is not my experience, and I'm so sorry that you had to go through that. And really taking that as a chance to learn and not just deny it. So I'm glad we're all on the same page on that. But
sure.
So unfortunately, we do have to wrap this up. You guys are amazing. Where can they find the two of you? Your podcast, your the events, everything, websites.
Yeah. So our podcast is the Holistic Healers Community Podcast. You can find us on Instagram, Holistic Healers Community. That's where we post all the flyers for our events. No website yet. We're working on that.
Yes.
So it's mostly on Instagram right now.
And you can email us at holistichealerscommunity@gmail.com.
Awesome. And
yes,
the podcast is on
all the major platforms.
Most of major platforms. Spotify for sure, Apple, Google, iHeartRadio, something Cast. There's a few. There's a few of them. I know. I actually have a list. We're on like maybe 9 or 10 platforms right now, and still growing because I'm learning that there's more platforms for podcasts.
Right.
Yes.
I need to get to that level.
Yeah.
But definitely check them out. It's a as I was just cleaning up and preparing, it's a good listen to, and you really like find yourself going, oh man, yeah. I completely agree with that. Yeah. So that's the end of our show. That's
Thank you.
it. I want to tell you guys to go ahead and subscribe, hit that notification button,
That's right there.
and give your feedback. Say hello if you want to. And until next Friday at 12 p.m., please give yourself love. If you have enough energy, give someone else love. And stay random.
Stay random.
Yay.
That's out.